r/AskReddit. What was your duck it, I'm doing it moment? Confessed to my crush some days ago, before we both left university for quarantine. She kindly told me the feelings aren't mutual, but I'm still incredibly thankful I had the courage to say it. This past November, my girlfriend went to stay with her parents for Thanksgiving week at their cabin in New Hampshire. I love her parents to death, but had to work. Her mother has only 3 years at most to live, and I was very bummed, because it would be the perfect chance to ask her father's permission to propose marriage. But again I had to work, and the drive would have been a good 4 hours. She went up on Sunday. On Monday, boss told me to stay home for the week due to lack of work, so I went up on Tuesday and surprised them. We are getting married in December. When I worked at a clothing store, and I hated my boss and my co-workers. They were all ducking off, while I was the only one cleaning and putting clothes back on the rack. They all were standing around talking and started laughing about something, and I was just the right amount of pissed off. I just said duck this. I walked over, said I quit, I'm going home. Took almost 2 months to find another job, but totally worth it at the moment. Hitting send on an email I wrote my husband's mistress. Holy cliffhanger. 8 years ago. I was pushing 300 pounds. Could not stop myself from eating tons of sugar. Would try to avoid going to self-serve yogurt places, but would find myself in the car driving to one, and didn't even remember leaving. It was ducking nuts. And after eating it my left arm and chest would ache, my heart saying, duck you, I'm gonna pop. So I thought, duck it, I'm going to die eating all of this sugar, might as well try eating a lot of fat. That's supposed to kill me, but if I'm going to die anyway, might as well give it a shot. 8 years later I'm down 80 pounds, have kept it off, and am in the best shape of my life at age 49. Meeting this guy I met on Xbox. Severely but unaware of the reason, raised hyper-religious, didn't know about depression, because therapists were evil. He made me stupid happy, and I wanted to hang out with him, before I offed myself. He gave me a week of so much fun, that I decided to seek out an evil therapist to fix me. He later ghosted me, but the love he showed was enough to go through treatment. Been mentally healthy and depression free 4 years. Edit. Ghosting hurts so much. Please don't do that to people if they are not putting you in danger, of course. I was bored as shite one day, decided I wanted to do something I'd never done, so I hopped in my car and drove 3 hours to Niagara Falls, crossed the border, and went to a target range, then rented the biggest gun they had, Springfield M1 chambered in .308, bought a couple targets and a box of bullets. That was my first ever experience with a firearm, and it was so much fun. I'm now working at getting a pal back home, so I can go shooting here. My aunt is a nurse, and she told me things about corona, and how it is for patients who smokes. I took my pack of cigarettes, while thinking duck it, then took water on them, and threw them out. I haven't had a smoke since. I'd been cast as the male lead in a romantic comedy the local theatre guild was putting on. I'd never been the lead, usually I had smaller comic relief type roles. I was 25, married, and the love interest was around 15 years older than me. We'd been struggling selling the kisses, okay, it was mostly me in my own head. One day at rehearsal, I said f it to myself, and just laid one on her, per the script, of course. She was sufficiently stunned that she forgot her next line. We were fine after that. While cleaning the basement I wondered what it would be like to get sucked by a vacuum cleaner. My mom came downstairs seconds after. This happened 5 minutes ago, and I don't want to go upstairs. Moving across the country with little savings and no job. I suddenly lost a high-paying job I had for a couple of years after my asshole boss fired me for giving her a mean look. You bet I gave her that look. Turns out she has a private business as a psychic and thought I was evil. I felt pretty hopeless after that until my friend reached out and asked if I wanted to team up with her on the West Coast as she was working on reconnecting with her family. I said yes, drove the 2,000 miles in March, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I have two, and they tie together. When a gorgeous woman asked if I'd ever considered being with another woman before at a party, I was trying desperately to bury that voice in my head because I was raised in a very small town in the south and my dad is a Southern Baptist, but I was pretty wasted and had tried Molly for the first time. After a string of horrible relationships with men and just feeling like something wasn't right, figured I didn't have anything to lose. So I just said duck it and gave it a shot. Turns out, I'm very much a lesbian. I'd been single other than flings here and there after finally coming out when my friend said to try Tinder, since most of my friends were straight and it's hard to meet other lesbians when you just hang out with straight people all the time. This was shockingly true, so my duck it, why not, moment was had. We made a profile together, I had it for like 3/4 months, and I'd made loads of friends, including some gaming and drinking buddies that I still have today. I was pretty much just gonna ditch the app because I was getting bored, and then I matched with a girl while I was at work. We messaged non-stop, even though I worked from 4:30 PM to 3 AM and she worked from 7:30 AM to 4:30 PM. Days before I was going to delete the app, I found my soulmate and best friend. She got me away from a lot of bad habits and I think fate was sick and tired of my bullshit because it turns out we had multiple opportunities to meet, but I wasn't choosing the right path to get to her. So it shoved me towards her finally. I'm forever thankful for both of those duck it, why not moments. They changed my life and made me happier than I ever thought was possible. Pretty much every decision I've ever had to make with my strict ass super religious African parents. First ones that come to mind are getting piercings, a tattoo, going to prom, etc. etc. You went to prom. How dare you? 2 years ago. A bunch of factors aligned. My dad passed the previous year at 60. I was 381 pounds after constant attempts to lose weight. I was diagnosed with a major case of sleep apnea at 34. My dad had it too, but he wasn't diagnosed until late 40s. I wasn't living but rather coasting. Said duck it. Started the process of getting gastric sleeve surgery. Best decision I've ever made. Sleeve the 1st of August 2019. I'm 190 pounds lighter. Completely different person than I was before for so many reasons. So late last year I'd ran into this girl at 2 shows put on by local bands and realized she remembered when we'd crossed paths before and that she was single. Saw her across the bar at a 3rd show, and since I had enough alcohol in me, I decided to just go over and talk to her. I walked over and opened my mouth to say hi. She beat me to it with her friend. Thinks you should buy me a drink. Turned out well enough I'd say. I just sent in an application to adopt a dog. I've always wanted one, but had to wait to get my life settled. Congratulations. Unfortunately someone else got there first, but I will keep looking. I liked this girl in high school that I knew everyone liked, and by everyone I mean everyone. All the teen boys just imagining things with her. She was smart, nice, talked so sweet, had a rockin' body, gorgeous face and walked like a model. Jocks, Charles, pretty boys, etc. all wanted her, and the cheerleaders envied her. I found out she had just broken up with her first ever boyfriend, weak dude, of 2 months, because he was a piece of sh*t that just wanted to pop her cherry. Anyways, we had crossing classes. When she had pen I had weight training, so I got to see her every day. My friend was talking to her friend. Whenever they would talk, her and myself would just stand there awkwardly in silence while they talked lol. When I went to parties with my friend she would go with hers, and like always we never talked. Sometimes her and her friend would talk, and she would talk about things I liked, and one time she said something that I was like oh damn she's perfect. So one day out of the blue I just said duck it I'm doing it, I'm going to talk to her. I said hi to her while she was on her phone sitting on the ground and she just looked up at me and looked right back down without saying a word. I was shot down so hard, but I mean, what did I expect? She was gorgeous and recently single, so I understood, and now 6 years later, and having had 2 of my kids, she's still gorgeous, and she's my wife. I also found out she lived across the street from me, lol. She said she saw me walking to my house and thought I was just visiting a friend, but then she saw me drinking outside with my family and homies, lol. I went for a girl way out of my league and found out she was shy to talk to me because she liked me, and we ended up getting married, lol. I was working at Tim Hortons. One of my supervisors was verbally abusive. She was just a total bitch. Many people reported her, but she was in good with the people that owned Tim's, so she never got any consequences handed to her. One day she was telling me to do the chores while I was doing drive-thru, and being a runner I started to do the chores as I was doing drive-thru, and she started yelling at me and made me feel very embarrassed because everyone in the restaurant could hear her. After she was done yelling, I took off my headset and hung it up and clocked out and said, "Duck it, I quit, good luck guys," and I walked out. Jumped from an 8-foot fence. 2 weeks later, me and my cast are doing just fine. All you cheeky scrublords better subscribe to Reddit Exposed if you don't wanna get no-scoped by him.